Welcome, everybody, to the CrossFire podcast. Tonight is just one of the nights that I've purposefully got in to this business for, because I got to be honest with you, this is fantastic. This is just, I'm kind of taken back, and even though I'm going to be the host of the show tonight, I'm going to be quite in awe from the amazing panel and special guests we have tonight. First, let me say thank you and welcome to everybody tonight. Please do hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit the retweet button. Let people know that we're here. We're going to have a hell of a show for you guys. And also, as you can see right above the description, we have the join button. That means you become a major Mooch Maniac the minute that you subscribe to the channel. You become a part of the show. A huge shout out goes to Longshot316, Sir X-Man, Masshole 1977, JB Kash, Rumple Foreskin, now known as Hollow Point 555557, too many fives, Rumple, Midway7 Monster, JudaZuk, Shinseiya, our major Mooch Maniacs are Wilmy Hood, the great Wilmy Hood, and also our VIP Mooch Maniacs, who's back, and we missed you, Biggie 2316, and Doggy Dog 420, and shout out to Doggy Dog for the great super chat. He says, the super chat's working, people, and welcome back, Mr. Boombastic. We are going to get to that in just 1 second. Guys, tonight's a special night. Let everybody know we're here. Let me start with the intros, because we've got many topics to get to. I will start with the one, the only, Xbot 448. Xbot, how the hell are you doing tonight?
What's going on, people? Welcome to another Crossfire, guys. It is the start of the gaming weekend. Although, Mooch, I have to confess, yes. I started a pre-game to the Gamers Weekend earlier today, and I was streaming Ori and the Blind Forest. Man, I couldn't wait for Crossfire. I had to get it started. But dude, awesome lineup. I can't wait to get into these topics. Let's go, bro.
I appreciate that, Xbot. Thank you so much. And then I've got our great gaming forte. He puts his ear to the ground for you folks, okay? Not for me, for you. Gaming forte, thanks for being here, buddy. Always on time, by the way. I'm going to give you that record as always on time. How you doing tonight?
I know, man. We got to upgrade that status. Been pretty good. Been good since the holidays, but man, yeah.
You're
happy to be back. Whatever. Happy to be back, man. A lot of stuff happened over the course of this weekend. No better way to do it other than the Crossfire and have this conversation for the weekend. Get these people hyped going into the nice time that they're gonna have over the weekend.
Appreciate that.
They could possibly crack open a Corona and enjoy, right?
Let's say a Budweiser, but nonetheless, we've got the great Brap here as well. Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Enrique, woo! Enrique, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Woo! I am doing fantastic. I'm really excited to be on Crossfire tonight. Great guests, great topics. Super excited. And I will not be consuming a Corona. I'll leave it at
that. No, you will not be. But I do appreciate that. Thank you. And he's returning, folks. Guys, he is back. He started on Crossfire. He took the torch. He ran over. He started an absolute fire on YouTube. It is the one, the only, Senor Boombastic Boom is back on Crossfire. Boom. How the hell you been? I know the audience missed you like I have.
Listen, it's always great to come home. And obviously, like you stated, this is where it started. And then I ran off like a complete lunatic down the ring, like a WWE superstar, and just completely set the ring on fire. And you know what? I got to say, tonight's topics are on fire, and so are the guests on this panel.
Appreciate that, Boom. And you know what? What a great intro, because I'm going to give our special guest tonight quite the intro. Like I usually do, whenever I get the ability in this community to meet some of the fantastic people that are providing content, not only for all of you, but me, myself, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to see somebody that's dedicated their time, their life, and their creative ability to the things that we love, and in this case, it's gaming. And I got a chance to podcast with Dreamcast Guy a good year and change ago, about a year and a half ago. Shout out to Jay Hooft, who also introduced me to Dreamcast Guy. Let me just say this much. Dreamcast Guy, welcome to the show tonight, first of all. Second of all, thanks for the content that you do provide. And third, as I've mentioned to you a number of times when we spoke, thanks for being that enthusiastic and keeping gaming fun, okay? So, Dreamcast Guy, welcome to Crossfire, and how are you tonight?
Genuinely, thank you so much for having me on. I've been watching the show for a while, and I just never even thought of being a guest. When you hit me up, I was immediately like, hell yes. I'm super happy to be on. These topics are crazy. I'm so happy to this is going to be such a fun show.
Appreciate that, Dreamcast guy. And
wow, Mooch, I think he's saying he's an Xbox fan because he's been, tuning in for a while now, man.
It might have been Xbox 448,
Could be, bro.
I got to be honest with you, that's why I show up. But you know what? Listen.
That's the star power.
Let's get right to it, guys. First and foremost, I want to kind of get into this whole thing where, and I'm going to start with our special guest, Dreamcast guy. You've done a number of pieces on it. You've also spoke to it on Twitter. Sony has not been showing up to recent events, okay? So we know that they didn't go to E3 last year. They're not going to E3 this year. Everyone thought PAX East was going to be a shoo-in. Of course, we know that there's things that are beyond their power in this case that are kind of keeping them from going there. And this is what I kind of want to do. Instead of focusing on the topic that's keeping them there, because there's a lot of different companies that are not going and have pulled out for that same reason. The thing that I think the community's been discussing over and over again is, in your opinion, does Sony have something to hide? Are they fearful of something? Or is it that they just really want to present the PS5 on their own terms, on their own time, and on their own stage?
I think what it really comes down to is I think it's mostly that Sony realizes that first impressions matter so much. I do think that obviously all this stuff going on in the news, the fact that they backed out of PAX East, GDC, now they're not going to be at E3. It's definitely weird looking from the outside, but I just definitely think that this is probably them trying to be ultra perfectionists, because let's face it, a bad console reveal can completely screw your console. I definitely think that the Nintendo Switch, the fact that they just posted a Nintendo Switch video, because remember the Nintendo Switch reveal was just a random thing on YouTube. I think we're probably going to end up getting that. I think we're just going to have a PlayStation 5 video show up at some point. I don't think they're going to do a press conference, which will be weird and different, but I think at this point they're probably just going to do that because... DC,
you said something interesting, and I remember one of your first videos about this. When Nintendo decided to go the direct method, okay, it was a question mark. And as we know now, right, Monday Morning Quarterback, it paid off. But I mean, do you think that this is the way that now we're going to see Sony? And do you eventually think that Microsoft will follow suit in years to come?
Maybe. So what's going on is I definitely think that Sony is following the Nintendo path. Obviously, Sony has their own version of Nintendo Directs now with the state of plays of like, hey, here's a collection of trailers. We're focus firing at you. The big difference with Microsoft that I feel like some people kind of forget is that Microsoft owns a lot of physical real estate. They own warehouses, they own buildings, they own conference halls. So them putting on these shows doesn't really cost them money in the same way that Sony does. Like, it's pretty well known Sony lost millions of dollars backing out of PAX East, whereas Microsoft is showing up to E3 for practically free. So I feel like Microsoft will always have a very physical in-person presence with a lot of their pressers.
I see. Now, Enrique, I know that you asked me even before we went live. You said I've got a lot to say on this subject, Enrique.
Yes.
And Boom, I know Boom is chomping at the bit as well. Enrique, where are you on this whole thing? And I mean, you can definitely bring up any subject you want, but I mean, where are you on this whole thing with Sony? And this may be the second or third event they're not going to show up. Is there anything cause for concern on your end?
No, I mean there isn't. I would be concerned if we got to past E3 and we haven't heard a thing. Then I would be like, you know what, guys, something's going on. Like either this thing's not launching in 2020 or there's something behind the scenes. I don't know, but I'll say this: like I don't think them showing up to PAX East. I heard people say, oh well, they bowed out. It's an excuse. Come to find out, that they actually put down money, non-refundable money, and they took a loss. So this isn't anything to do with them just bailing at the 11th hour. Because they're not ready or anything like that. I think this was a very calculated decision by Sony. The virus, as I would call it, is a real thing. I mean,
yes.
Big shout out to Italian Clowns, by the way. He DM'd me and tweeted something out earlier. There's an event in San Francisco. I think it's called RSA, where big companies like Verizon have pulled out. Verizon's not the only one. There's a couple other big name companies. So. This thing is it's not a situation, and it's unfortunate that I've seen it turn to a console war thing where people are using the virus if you will, to say that that Sony's making excuses or they're scared. No, this is something that they felt was in the best interest of their employees.
Right.
But it's interesting. Dreamcast guy brought up a great point, and I never thought about this. Like Jim Ryan a long time ago, maybe a few months ago, said, "Hey, you know what, guys? I'm very aware." Jim Ryan said, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, we know that the incumbent hasn't always come back to the following generation, knock it out of the park. They're very aware of that. So I think the Dreamcast guy's point, they're probably looking to really, because I agree with this 100%. If you have a bad reveal, that's very hard to come back from. I mean, you could ask Microsoft that question in 2013.
It's a great point.
You can ask Sony the same thing when they told us to get a second job. I mean,
I forgot about that. Oh, that was so bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember that. Oh, our people love our brand. They'll get a second job. I'm like, whoa, I'm not getting a second job. I love the PlayStation, but I'm not getting a second job to buy the PlayStation 3. That's not going to happen, guy. So I think they're being very calculated with the reveal. Yeah. I also think too, here's the thing. They also have to think about this. They still have to sell PlayStation 4 consoles. They're in an interesting position this year. And I don't mean this as a console war type thing, but if you look at what they have to market right now, they have The Last of Us 2, which could be,
that's right.
If The Last of Us follows the suit of its predecessor, Last of Us 2, it could be a game of the generation game, right?
Yes.
Or at least a game of the year contender. They have that coming out. They have Final Fantasy VII, which Dreamcast guy, I had loved your top 10 things to be in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points there. They have Final Fantasy VII coming out. They have a Neo 2. They just released Dreams. Dreams is getting a lot of critical, it's being praised, reviewing very well. They have Ghost of Tsushima, which is supposed to be launching towards the end of the year.
It's a very exciting lineup.
So they have. I mean, they're giving us a lot of content as gamers, and I'm like, whoa. So then how? So in my mind, how do they?
They're looking at it like there's over 106 million PS4s out there. They're going to sell those games as well. Plus, they're going to sell the PS5 when that releases as well. It's not really that much of a conundrum, man.
It's kind of a balancing act, like,
it's
okay,
not really a balancing act.
But it is a balancing
because you got over 106 million out there, yeah.
But you still have 3 big games that you need to sell. Those games need to sell and be profitable.
They're going to sell them all the people who have PS4s, and then when the PS5 comes out, they're going to sell ports of those games. But they still
need to market those games. It just isn't like, hey, you know what, guys, we got this in the bag. It's not like we got this in the bag, and you know what, we're just going to throw the games out there and assume that everyone's going to go out and buy them. No, there's a lot of marketing. And there's a lot of initiative that goes behind that. It just isn't as simple as saying, here, guys, here's The Last of Us 2. We have 106 million, consoles sold. It's a walk in the park. We got this. I think they're going to
market it, but then, dude, they've done it. I don't know how many times they marketed one thing, and as soon as something else came out, they dropped that and they marketed the new thing. It's what they're going to do. I mean, I don't think this is a really kind of like heavy thinking type thing. When it comes to PAX East, I was excited that Sony, decided that they were going to do smaller venues. That's basically what they came out and said. They thought that E3 was going to be a more consumer-based, more gamer-based conference. They thought it was moving towards that way, and it really wasn't. So they're like, you know what? We're going to focus on smaller venues, smaller conferences, and get the games.
Well, you know what it is? Not just smaller conferences, though, Xbot. It seems like also going that direct route or state of play, if you will. Let me just do a real quick shout out to Robert Olson on the Super Chases. Looking forward to a great show. Robert, that's what we're here to give you, buddy. And also the great Sin Vendetta here. He says, how has Mooch not reached 10,000 subscribers yet? This man deserves more. Sin! My God, you'd almost think that you were a relative, but you're not. Nonetheless, Sin, thank you for that. I appreciate it. No, go ahead,
Xbot.
Nice
relatives then, brother.
Well, absolutely. Well, relatives in the Italian tradition just have to stick together.
You're still on YouTube?
Right?
Yeah.
Great. But, let me go to Senora Bombastic. Boom. What's your take? Go ahead, Xbot. I apologize. I interrupted you.
When it comes down to the coronavirus, it's understandable. At first, I was looking at it. I was like, well, PlayStation is based in California. They're not going to a conference on the East Coast of the United States because they're scared of a virus that originated in China, and it didn't make sense to me. But when you see that they lost money and stuff like that, you know, I feel for the people who are getting excited about going to this conference, you know, getting their hands on The Last of Us 2, stuff like that. My main thing is the reason why I have an eye on this is because when it comes to hardware launching and launch lineups and stuff like that, there always needs to be a neutral venue out there where journalists are going to go and they'll be able to report on exactly what these people are saying that are true and what they're saying that are not true. Now, when it comes to Xbox,
Nintendo just said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, well, Nintendo does whatever the hell they want. I mean, they sold people cardboard. I keep going back to that, but they really did.
Yeah,
they sold people cardboard, man. But there needs to be a neutral venue. So hopefully, like Tokyo Game Show, something like that. I hope they do an unveiling that's under their control. They get to, you know, kind of like control the narrative, because Xbox is going to do the same thing before E3. But I hope that they get to one of those neutral type areas where journalists can go in there and be like, you know what, that looked great, but that wasn't running. You know, they'll be able to put out truth before anything else. And if Sony is trying to avoid that neutral venue, that's something I'm going to call them out on, man, to be really honest with you.
All right, well, Boom, I know you're chomping a bit, and also, Dreamcast guy, I know this is your first time on Crossfire. You don't have to wait. This is not the show where you wait to be called on. When you got something to say, Dreamcast guy, you jump right in there. But Boom,
great points. I just don't want to cut everybody off because I feel like everybody is kind of killing it. I'm kind of just sitting here basking in it. But yeah, it's definitely a complicated shit show. I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that
that's correct.
I don't know. I definitely think Xbox is right in that. Like, Sony is always in a hurry to show you the next cool thing. It's kind of weird right now to see them not in a hurry to show us the next cool thing with the PlayStation 5, especially because the PlayStation 5 is going to sell, and they've already confirmed that every PlayStation 4 game is going to run on the PlayStation 5. It is a little bit weird sometimes to just think, why haven't they done, I don't know, a last-minute state of play that was called the PlayStation 5 State of Play that was just an 8-minute video showing the controller in the box and bullshit. But, I don't know. It's weirdly silent in all these games. We still need to see more of Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I mean, Boom, I know that you've had some conversations in the past few weeks as well, and I was on your show, and it was before the whole thing went down with, you know, the epidemic and the virus and things like that. But where are you on this right now? Are you understanding? Are you seeing Sony's point in pulling out and these other companies pulling back on this, or are you kind of still scratching your head wondering why?
You know what? I think the issue at hand here isn't one particular incident. I think that the Sony looking out for the best interest of their employees should be commended, and not used as a spark plug for a ridiculous console war that people want to keep raging on. Agreed. I think that at this point, we know who the winner of this generation was, and we know that the underdogs. Gamers are definitely the winner for sure.
Yeah, they're always the winner. Let's be real.
But in regards to, you know, who's the market leader right now, it's Sony. It's Sony because of their strong first party and their messaging. I think the issue that many people, including myself, are having is we have to, again, this is not focusing on them just pulling out of E3 2020 or now, you know, pulling out of GDC and not going to PAX East because they're touting their concern for their employees. That's not the issue. The issue is that Sony has been in the face of gamers the entire generation. And if you really want to go all the way back, you could look at the canceling of PSX 2018. And from that moment on, the Sony brand, even though it's popular, even though they have great first-party games, in my opinion, have not answered the call of the fans. They do not go to events anymore. They've skipped out on numerous Tokyo game shows and GDCs and Gamescoms and all of these big events where people are hoping that Sony's going to show something new. Now, when you take all of those past 24 months of Sony canceling this and canceling that, and now we have, I mean, listen, shots were fired on December 12th. by Microsoft. They did something uncanny. They did something that no one expected them to do, and they showed the Xbox Series X. They showed the controller. They gave us the name of it. They let us take a good look at it. Then they showed Hellblade.
They grabbed the narrative at that point in time because nobody expected it. Really.
That's a great point. That's a fantastic point. And since the 12th of December, the narrative, as Xbot was just saying, has been in the favor of Microsoft. So gamers. And I say that, and I don't say that loosely. Gamers, everybody in this panel, everybody in the chat who support multiple consoles are seeing all of these wonderful things from Microsoft. So we're all expecting, and I've heard it on numerous podcasts, well, when is Sony going to do that surprise event and take a shot at Microsoft?
February 5th.
But what?
But why do they have to?
Yeah, why do they have to take a shot at Microsoft?
Yeah, here's the
why
thing.
do they have to?
I mean, my thing is like this. Like, I understand. Like, people are Boom. I agree with you. I want to know just as much as you do about the PlayStation 5. But that being said, like, we don't know a ton about the Series X either, other than what it looks like. And I don't understand why Sony has to come back and counterpunch. Like, it's the same thing as the title. It's the same thing as an MMA fighter. Listen, I'm sorry to say, Sony just. But this isn't MMA though.
Yeah, but Sony got two big MMA titles coming out this year.
I definitely agree with that.
That's going to be the narrative anyway.
I mean, they're also in different positions too. Like, and I'm not trying to turn this to a console war thing where people say, "Oh, Xbox has no games," because I don't believe in that. But in reality, Microsoft doesn't have anything at the level of, in terms of content, exclusive content right now, releasing this year outside of Halo Infinite. But they don't have any. They don't have a Ghost of Tsushima. They don't have a The Last of Us 2.
Forte, don't you start with your Halo garbage, man.
They don't have a Final Fantasy 7. They don't have a Final Fantasy remake. They just released Dreams, although Dreams, I'm not going to say Dreams is going to be this massive hit, but Dreams has been well received, so, and they have Neo 2 coming out, which is exclusive. So they're also in different positions where Microsoft is like, hey, you know what? We're ready to. We're more anxious to move forward into next generation than Sony is.
Check this out. This isn't about like taking a jab back at Microsoft or anything like that. I think people out there, gamers out there, are talking about where is Sony right now, because when it comes down to it, we just passed
they have been doing state of plays, by the way.
We passed the anniversary of the reveal of the PS4.
Okay.
So when it comes down to it, people are like, well, this is kind of like, well, where are they? We're in that time span where there's supposed to be some type of showing or something like that. Where are they? I don't think it's anything like, man, look, Xbox got a one.
Let's hear Forte. I really got to hear what you say, because Forte knows
at the bit.
He's in the business.
Oh Lord. So this conversation, okay, I'm just remembering back to pre-VGAs last year, where everybody kept saying, Sony's gonna take their time. They still got some bangers coming out that they don't want to overshadow. They got games on the horizon still that's releasing. Then Xbox did something that nobody saw them doing, and ever since that day, everybody's been waiting for Sony to respond in some way. So I don't want to hear people saying it's not about this whole back and forth between Microsoft and Sony. I mean, dude, that's why half of these podcasts are around right now, to talk about what is Microsoft going to do with Sony. How is Sony going to respond to what Microsoft is doing? I have been saying this for months. The reason you saw what you saw at the VGAs is because Microsoft was put into a position that they had to do that. They had to do something to change the narrative that was different than what they did this entire generation, which is be aggressive. That is the reason I am so excited to what Microsoft is doing. But trying to say and pigeonhole Sony and saying we have to do the same exact thing is kind of, I'm not going to say it's crazy and foolish and just blasphemous and stuff like that, because everybody has their own reason for them to want to know the news that's coming out that Sony's talking about. But me personally, they've got 3 games that are still releasing this year. And for people to keep saying that, people want to know about this because they want to, they don't show any they don't show any confidence in their product or anything like that. Well, they're still selling PS4s out there. They got 3 games that are releasing this year. One is not exclusive. It's going to be a 1-year timed exclusive, but shoot, it's going to be exclusive to their platform for the first year. That's right. So they got 3 games that's releasing, and one of them is probably going to end up being game of the generation, depending on how it plays itself out. So everybody just needs to pump the brakes and calm down, because Sony's going to say something. It's just been bad after bad news with all the stuff that's happening that is not in their control. And I understand that everybody, including myself, want to know what this system's going to be, because I'm buying one day one. And I don't even know what the system basically is going to be. I just know off of the strength of the games they released this entire generation. Right. Those games, I know God of War 2 is going to be there. I know those games. Listen, I know Last of Us. Last of Us 2 is going to run better on that system when it releases. So it's going to make me go back and play it again. Those are the things I'm worried about until Sony comes out and says something completely asinine, like go get another job to afford an $800 system. That's the only thing that's going to change.
The thing about it is this: what I'm noticing on Twitter and what I'm seeing on YouTube a lot of the times is half the community is already anxious for November, and the other half is saying, "Wait, we've got a whole lot of 2020 left."
That's all they do.
Right. Quick shout out to everybody in the super chat too. Maze Rage 19X says, Brian, the PlayStation guy here. The show is great. Keep it up, Mooch Maniac. I've got a few more here, folks, and then I want to go on to another topic, because as much as this topic's great, there's so much more to talk about here tonight.
Well, I'm anxious for March, man.
Hold on. We're getting into it, Xbox. Don't you worry. Mr. Miracle says, LOL. So can we play events or can we play games? Sony has kept a steady stream of Game of the Year contenders coming since 2018, and it will continue into 2020. I appreciate that. And last but not least, the great Buck Nasty says, I made it. So Buck Nasty, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Right?
Well, hold on. He said a steady stream of games since 2018 in a generation that started in 2013. Let that sink in.
But Xbox, can you agree? Xbox, it's not talking about the body. It's about how you finish. How do you finish the generation? It's going to get people, but how you finish that generation is how people are going to remember the generation, not how it started. Things change throughout a generation. If we were to go off of that, Xbox would be dead in the water going into the next generation because of how they started it.
I want to ask a Dreamcast guy a quick question. Dreamcast guy, do you think that this is just really a knee-jerk reaction? Had Sony been at E3 this year, that no one would be focused on, oh my God, they're missing PAX East and now they're missing GDC?
Yeah, I do think that would quell it some. I think we all can be able to take a step back and just realize that Sony, they're not lazy, but they've definitely changed their methodology. I think the fact that every Sony game just keeps selling and selling and selling. Bloodborne has sold a ton. Horizon was like the best-selling new IP of the generation. Then we had, of course, they're already bragging about how Spider-Man sold 10 million copies in the first couple months. God of War was a huge hit. Even third-party stuff like Red Dead Redemption 2 sells crazy millions of copies, specifically on the PlayStation 4. So I think that Sony's in a spot now where it seems like they're kind of taking a step back because they're still getting paid. They realize, okay, we don't have to keep editing together these commercials. The stuff is selling. We just need to worry about buying studios and making games. So I think the silence is weird. The silence at times can be deafening, but we're still getting good games. Like, even though we don't have a new Ghost of Tsushima trailer, we're going to be playing Ghost of Tsushima soon. We got Neo in a couple weeks. I don't know. It's weird from the outside, and I do wish they were at E3, but simultaneously, I just think that this is new Sony. Sony is just making games instead of making trailers.
Well, Dreamcast guy, you said something interesting in the early part of your comment, okay? And it was that Sony's waiting, and then you went on to a different explanation. But here's the thing. Rather than have a knee-jerk reaction, they don't need to act abruptly, right? They don't need to come out the gate and say something. If we go back to what Phil Spencer said on that great podcast, and shame on me for not remembering them, but they had their 1000th episode recently.
Gamertag Radio.
Gamertag. Shout out to those guys. Great show. But the thing I was going to say was he mentioned that it wasn't his idea. It was actually somebody in the boardroom raised their hand and said, let's do something daring. Let's do something bold that we never do, right? And
that was Mooch's sister that did that.
Absolutely. It was definitely a family member.
She got up and said, it's great.
It's great. Great. But I mean, the thing about it is, guys, is that that I almost questioned when I heard Phil say that, okay, I'm thinking to myself, Man, that takes a little bit away.
Was Cindy Walker.
Thank you. And you know what? She should get all the credit in the world. So credit to Cindy. Like, that's a great idea, and I love what they did. But the fact is that Phil didn't. That wasn't his idea. You know? And you're like, well, okay, so you did make the move. You did do that. But, like, realistically, if it wasn't for Cindy, we wouldn't know that it was Series X or what it looked like, or there was a share button. And it's like, so this was not even Microsoft's real intent to show it at the Video Game Awards. It was just like, it's almost an abrupt thought. I don't want to say an afterthought, but an abrupt thought. So realistically, Sony
like that at Xbox,
absolutely, absolutely. I've been saying Mooch is available to fly to Redmond.
That was a great idea, though. Like, I'm glad they did that because, like she said, like I think Phil said, like, you know, Cindy got up and said, "Hey, we're not in a place where we want to be. We can't keep doing the same thing."
Bravo to her.
Absolutely right. Yeah, she was absolutely right.
You know,
did you look at there was that leaked picture of the Xbox Series X? If you actually zoom it in and read the back of it, it says that it was made like early November or when the prototype Series X's were produced. So it's even more impressive when you realize that they probably had just finalized the console and they were already like, all right, we're confident enough to show this off. Like, that's ballsy. Like, props to Microsoft.
Ballsy. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So guys, let me just take care of the super chat. Shout out to Rich Kreischer. He says, Mooch, can you give my $10 to Forte for a new mic? I think Forte sounds great. Woo! He sounds great. Nine Live says Pony's waiting for a show since 2018. Nine Lives, that's your first super chat, but he's been here since day one. Shout out to Nine Lives, great to see him. And shout out to again the great Buck Nasty. He says, Mooch, if you can sell me on an Xbox Series X, I'll donate $100 to your console of choice. No Halo or Game Pass. Good luck. Buck Nasty, thanks for that hurdle to jump over.
I know, right?
Right?
Yo, stipulations, man.
Right.
Lord.
You should be gaming on PC. I'll just throw that out there.
Let me do this. I changed subject title lines on purpose because they kind of blend, and then we're going to be leaving this category entirely. Dreamcast guy, of course, I'll start with you. You know, the PS5 has had rumor after rumor. Shout out to Rich and a few others on YouTube that have been covering these rumors. That this is like the third or fourth one now that's coming out. And I understand that some of them really don't hold water because of the background checks that have been done on the rumors that have been leaked by those folks that are quote-unquote insiders. But this is the third or fourth time we're seeing that PS5 is targeting 12 teraflops and trying to go head-to-head with the Xbox. And when I put that even up here, I get a lot of people saying to me in the community, come on, Mooch, you know this is BS.
That was debunked, though.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, there was the Chan one, but there's other ones that have come out previously. I mean, Dreamcast guy, when it comes to your ear to the ground, and I know you speak to a lot of people in the business, like, do you think that it holds water? I'm not putting you on the hot seat. I'm just saying, does it hold water that Sony maybe has going back to the drawing board? And I just want to put one more caveat before you answer, Dreamcast guy, is before 2013, back in 2012, when all of this was discussed, we don't know the exact day, but it was not long before launch, okay? Sony went back to the drawing board because Microsoft had word that they were going to also go with, I believe it was it DDR3 or whatever it was that they were going with in the Xbox One original fat, right? And then Sony at the last minute pulled the plug and went with GDDR5.
Actually, they went. I think it was GDDR4, and what it was how much system memory they were putting in. I think
they increased it.
Yeah, they doubled it from 4 to 8, I believe. And that was the thing that kind of put it over the top.
Yep.
Well, nonetheless, that was a last minute call, okay? So I guess my question goes back to Dreamcast guys. I made that convoluted question a little bit more. I added a couple of different layers to it. Do you think that this holds water, A? B, do you think that PS5 is going to try to get that maximum out now that the rumors are pretty strong that Xbox has got a 12 teraflop monster?
So I've talked to a lot of people, like a lot of good sources, and the main thing I'm hearing is that PS5, Sony is not interested in what Xbox Series X is doing. They're afraid of price. I've heard a lot of separate people tell me this. Sony is trying to make their console as good as possible. 12 teraflops would be amazing if they can magically get there. But the main thing I'm hearing is that they are trying their damnedest to hurry up and get the cheapest, biggest internal storage. Like, the main gap they're having right now is having a solid-state hard drive because all the game developers right now are making games with solid-state hard drives. I got a chance to play a PlayStation 5 game. I played Outriders, and while I was there, the developers were telling us, like, this is a next-gen game. This is PlayStation 5 Xbox Series X. Will have, like, a downscaled version for current-gen consoles. And when you were playing it, it didn't have load times. It was all run on solid state. So you'd just be jumping from battlefield to battlefield. You'd be quick traveling in less than a second. And you could tell that Sony is definitely more worried about making sure that works than making it like 4K. At least that's what it seems like.
Okay,
guys, when it comes down to it, just real quick,
go ahead, Xbox.
I'm gonna make a prediction here. Some people in the chat are not gonna like it. When it comes down to these two consoles coming out, Sony will not hold the power advantage or the price advantage. And it's going to be interesting because Xbox will be using two devices, one for the power and one for the price. And Sony is actually going to be sandwiched in between the two new Xboxes. And that's really going to be interesting for people who are like, well, price is everything. And then other people are like, well, power is everything. Well, guess what? When it comes down to it, I'm saying that Xbox is going to have power with the Series X, is going to have price with what we're calling the Series S. So what's going to happen then? Is it just going to be mind share that the PS4 sold well, so automatically the PS5 is going to sell well? It's going to be a really interesting thing because I think Xbox is going to claim both of those.
It's probably going to be games that drives anything at the end of the day. Content.
At the end of the day, it really is
what? I agree with
the
games thing, but power is. Listen, look. Let's not pull the false wool over anyone's eyes here. Okay, in 2013, 2 blades of grass were made to run entire podcasts, right? Yes. 900p versus 1080p completely ruled gaming media. So let's not all pretend and hold hands and try and be friends about it. Microsoft having the power is going to be a big deal. The games issue that they suffered this entire generation is going to be wiped away. Sony,
well,
Sony,
we don't know that yet. We got to see what games are coming
hold on just a second. You listen. All we can do on this show is assume, but you can't just say that Sony is just going to walk into the ring like Ric Flair and just completely take over because they were there once before. Okay, listen. I always harken back to this. You have to look at the failures and the successes of all 3 major consoles. The success of the Wii U, right, was unbelievable. They failed. They failed with the follow-up console to the Wii. I'm sorry, the Wii U failed with only 11 million consoles sold, somewhere around there, right? The PlayStation 3 was a dominant console, right? We saw how they succeeded with the PlayStation 4, but we can't forget that at that beginning of that generation, they completely self-imploded from the PlayStation 2 days. Now you take a look at what Microsoft has done. They unfortunately took the wrong page out of Sony's book. They were doing great with the 360. If you ask anyone, even though the numbers are just slightly different, most people will tell you that Microsoft won that PS3 360 generation because of the mind share. And then what did they do? They shit the bed with I have a console for you with good old Donnie D. And they just didn't. They weren't prepared. They were not prepared to, to have games lead a game.
If I may,
machine.
real quick, and then whoever wants to chime in definitely can. Boom. I want to say this much because I've podcasted with you recently, and I've been listening to your show. I think what you're saying holds water, but I want to just ask you a question, and if you want to answer it, you can. If not, you can. It can be rhetorical, and we can talk about it off the air. But here's my thing. You make great points about it'll be wiped away next generation because we saw Microsoft made moves. But let's just say this much. Will you ride with me with this? We know that they have games coming, but you don't know if they're going to be good games. And that's wherein lies the huge question mark. When you hear Sony fans, and I don't mean to just say Sony fans, but gamers around the world say this, okay? I'm looking forward to Spider-Man 2. Well, they already know what that's going to be. The sequel to the God of War we got in 2018. Well, you know what that's going to be. Days Gone. Well, you know what that's going to be. Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Well, you know what that quality is going to be. So what I'm saying is if you've liked any of the titles I've mentioned, I've lost or left out Death Stranding and a lot of others, Ghost of Tsushima coming up. right?
Yeah,
Bloodborne.
2?
What I'm trying to say is there's where you say, I'm going to plunk down $500. I already know that I'm at least going to get the version 2 of all of those great titles and then the unknown from Sony. With Microsoft...
You don't know about sequels when it comes to Sony either. Like,
I think the ones I mentioned were pretty safe.
Days Gone? Really?
Days Gone too? Absolutely. Absolutely. It sold like hotcakes.
It's actually sold very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Days Gone sold very well.
I wouldn't guarantee
it was some of the design issues it had was because of the constraints of the hardware.
Hold on. When you're talking about games and stuff like that, the beginning of this generation, Xbox had the games and it was completely overpowered by the power narrative. Like how when we look at Sony's track record for launch lineups and stuff like that, when it comes to their new system, they're not really good with those.
Xbox, but they were selling pretty like not even, but they were close. And then once those exclusives started dropping for Sony, it took about 5 years off. And look, let me tell you something.
I never have a
like power. Like I get power's important. That's why I game on PC Master Race. But look, I look at it like this: power means nothing without content. I've seen this power narrative.
We got a brand new Halo coming in November, bro.
That's a great point.
Like the Atari Jaguar, it was the most powerful console at the time.
I had one. I had a Jaguar, baby.
Didn't have content, and so content is always king. I mean, and Sony's been doing this for 25 years. That's the biggest advantage that they have over Microsoft. They have 25 years of investing in first. They could go back, guys. They could drop a siphon filter. They could bring that for the past.
They probably will.
You look at what they did with what's that game that they did a remaster. Blue Point did it. It was
Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow
of the Colossus. Yep. I mean, those are examples of games they can go back into their bag, like we see what Disney do. They go back in their bag and say, you know what, we're gonna go back here and we're gonna do a modern day take. They're doing it with Final Fantasy VII right now. But the biggest thing that I and look, I'm not going to say
going to Xbox after a year. Let's not act like
but you know what? But it's not Xbox. It's not going to Xbox day and date.
But dude, some people can wait a year to play that because they already played it back in the 90s. Man.
Why? Okay, but why do you lock down exclusive content for a year if you're a hardware? Because you're trying to sell hardware. That's why Microsoft does it. That's why Sony does it. It's advantageous for them to do to drive revenue.
With Tomb Raider, they got like crucified for it, brother.
But we're not talking about that.
Hold on, let me let Boom in there. Listen,
I just want to make one more quick point.
Go ahead, then I want Boom to go ahead.
I'm just throwing facts out there.
They have 25 years of experience doing this. Sony does, and they've consistently put out quality content in those 25 years. Yeah, they dropped the ball with the launch of the PlayStation 3, but what was equally impressive about that is even at their worst, they still managed to sell almost 90 million consoles. I have
a rebuttal for exactly what you're saying, and I'm going to tell you why that doesn't mean what you're saying holds zero water to your exclusives, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, first of all, we have to look at the numbers, right? Numbers are what moves business, and numbers don't lie. Spider-Man, right, which is one of my favorite games of this generation. I just platinumed it. I can't get enough of it, and I cannot wait to see what Insomniac does on the second part. With that said, they just crossed 15 million. Now, no one here is going to dare say that 15 million is something to snub your nose at. But when you compare 15 million pieces of this content, this exclusive game, as opposed to now 109 million PlayStation 4 sold, the numbers don't add up. As a matter of fact, the very famous Ed Boon did a poll on Twitter the other day. 50,000 people responded to this. Do you know what was the most important thing for next generation?
Price.
Exclusives came in last place. And
second, didn't it? 30%.
But boom,
no, exclusive did not come in. No, it was a much larger. It was like 13%.
We also don't know the demographic of the responders either.
But
we don't know
again,
the motivation either. I mean,
we're just talking blatant facts.
Hold on, with Ed Boon,
that's not
he
facts,
does a
though.
multi-plat game. He's got fans from every platform that respond to him on Twitter. You can't say you don't know the demographic, man.
Well, but that's also
no, because it's not a controlled sample. That's my point.
Yeah. The simple fact of the matter is this. Okay, I'm not gonna. You guys know how much I love Sony's exclusives, right? I play all of them. My brother even gave me Death Stranding, and I'm like 50 hours into the game. I had to put it down and play something else because I really started to get long in the tooth with it. But I enjoyed my time with it. Am I going to go back? I don't know. But that's regardless of the point. The point of the matter is very simple. Microsoft has positioned themselves in a very lucrative position. And the reason why that is and the reason why Sony seems so out of sorts with the whole Bloomberg report about not knowing what they're going to do regarding pricing is because 80%, and I'm lowballing here, 80% of your market, regardless of whether it's Sony, whether it's Nintendo, or whether it's Xbox, is the casual market. The casual market is what runs the entire game industry, not the hardcore folks. And we only equate to about 15%. If you want to get crazy and let your hair down, say 20%. If Microsoft has a $300 1440p 60 FPS console, and they have the power narrative as well with the $500 console, they are going to sell, they're going to move more consoles. Now, granted, Sony is, of course, in more regions, and at the end of the day, they may sell more consoles simply because their reach is longer. But we cannot discount all of the new games that are going to be coming from Microsoft, and we certainly can't just throw our hands up in the air and say, well, the last Halo, people didn't like, so this one is going to be shit.
Say it, Boom. Go ahead.
I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
But at the same token, though, Boom, we can't look. I think it's a fair thing to say with the new studio acquisitions. Look, I'm excited about it, but I'm not going to say, hey, with all these games coming out, because I don't know the quality of the content. What I can say is I can go back and look at Nintendo's track record with first party. I can go back to PlayStation's track record with first party. They have consistently put out better exclusive first party content. And I always hear the argument, Spider-Man only sold 15 million copies, and the numbers don't add up. But in the industry, that 15 million, if you sell 10% of your base, actually it's lower than that. Because I had this conversation with Apple stuff. You're selling 9% of your base as an exclusive. That's considered very successful within the industry. And those things, it's the same reason why Netflix does exclusive content. Those exclusive contents give the brand an identity. They're very important. Exactly.
Enrique, let me do this real quick. I have a lot of super chats. Dreamcast guy, I'm coming to you because you heard Enrique, you heard Boom.
Yeah.
Dreamcast, I want to get your input. Just let me read these super chats while you gather your thoughts. And I'm going right to you. Weenie says, I got my tax return. I felt like splurging on the chat. Weenie, thank you so much. Hamosart says, what price point do you think the PS5 will launch at? Has it been confirmed? We'll get to that shortly. I think you've heard a few different prices come out. Sovereign Cogito says The Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy 7, and I believe he's saying Ghost of Tsushima will sell millions of PS4s. So why should Sony market PS5 and confuse those considering buying a PS4 to play? Said above games. Sony silence is a smart marketing. Sovereign, I want to come back to that. You're the first that's brought that up to me. I like where you're going with that. Buck Nasta says PC Master Race just for Enrique. I think that gets Enrique excited for some reason. And then last but certainly not least, I do have one more here from the great Carlos Crespin, who's back. Carlos, good to have you back here. He says the hardcore who buy exclusives still influence the casuals to buy the console, even if they don't buy said console. Do not downplay exclusives. Carlos, always a great point. I want to go back to our special guest, Dreamcast guy. When I've had different folks that are at your caliber come on the show, we've always made these types of back and forth, and I credit Boom and I credit Enrique and Forte Xbot especially as well on their due diligence on both sides of the coin. But Dreamcast guy, when you hear and I know for a fact from our conversations, and I see you on Twitter, this is not the first time this conversation has passed your ears. Where are you on this whole thing where you see the excitement for Xbox and the Xbox camp, but Sony does have AAA bangers coming out this year. 2020 is not over for Sony, and I think Xbox can't wait for it to be over.
So my thing is, I just want to take a little bit of issue with whenever people like try and downplay the importance of exclusives. I feel like exclusives are important. Third-party games sell consoles as well. Like, let's face it, I hear people all the time just say, "Hey, I saw the new Call of Duty trailer, and I didn't even realize the new Call of Duty was coming out, and it said best on PlayStation, so I went and bought a PlayStation." Like, you hear that all the time, but exclusives sell the most consoles. And my thing is, going into next generation, I think this is going to be incredibly important because honestly, I don't think the graphics jump is going to be that big. Like, the leap from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 was massive. PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4 was a little bit smaller. I think PlayStation 5 games are just going to look a little bit better. So it's going to come down to exclusive games. And honestly, I think that like the first massive one, like if we end up seeing like, imagine if there's rumors going around that GTA 6 may be like a year exclusive or something. Imagine the tens of millions of consoles that would sell. So I feel like whenever people try and act like exclusives don't matter or exclusives aren't a major player in the factor, price is king. I'm not going to act like that's not true. Especially if the Xbox Series X is $100 lower, it's going to blast. That first 6 months is going to be a selling spree. But I think that if the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are close in price, it's going to mostly come down to exclusives, probably even beyond power.
Yeah. No, I do agree. Now, what about the case where you have a situation like Sovereign was saying in the Super Chat? Again, outstanding point. Maybe the reason Sony's not so anxious to jump into next generation is they've got 2 quality games. More than that, but 2 top-tier games coming out that haven't released yet. You know, it's funny because, you know, what do you always say? What do parents always say? You're not getting dessert. I know dessert's going to be great. Okay, it's going to be great, but you got to eat dinner first. So my point is, I'm not going to start advertising to the kids that I got s'mores and ice cream. Okay, here comes a food reference. Okay, when they got to sit there and eat their Brussels sprouts and their steak. So the point of the matter is that we're not going to jump to conclusions here. I think Sovereign made a hell of a point. I do got to say that caught me off guard because I'm thinking we are all so excited, and we all do this, right, Dreamcast guy? We all make videos, and we all keep talking about how exciting and anticipated we are because next generation is exciting. But the thing is, though, the fact of the matter,
Mooch.
I know you're there, PC Master Race.
Shut up, Enrique.
But to be honest with you, 2020 is still alive and kicking. And shout out to 00 Rain. He says it's utterly erosion. Why did he have to put that word in there? Egregious and disingenuous to pretend like exclusives aren't a major factor when selling a console. The attach rate argument is ridiculous. And Rain, I'd like to remind you that only you have a thesaurus. I'm running a show. All right, go ahead.
So what? I would say one last thing, which is like Mooch and Shat's bringing this up. It's a great point of it's almost weird to think that the PlayStation 4's success may end up sort of hurting the launch of the PlayStation 5 because everybody has a PlayStation 4 and it's hard to tell people to upgrade sometimes. It sort of reminds me of the issue that Nintendo had with the 3DS and going to the Switch. A lot of them were like,
it's a great point.
Like the 3DS was still selling so fast even as the Switch came out. And Nintendo had to make a hard call of, do we kill the thing that is still absolutely paying our rent to try and get this new animal up and coming? And I think maybe Sony's having those discussions right now of being like, at what point do we stop promoting the PlayStation 4?
You know, I don't think this is that big of an issue because of something we've talked about, a feature that both the Xbox and the Series X and the PS5 are going to have, which is backwards compatibility. So for the people who have a PS4, you know, and they already are like, you know what, when it comes down to it, we're not going to jump on the PS5 or anything like that. Sony can still market their games, but still also show off the PS5 because they're going to have 2 systems that will be able to play the game. You see what it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
No,
blurry generation thing is going to be weird. In general, I don't think I've ever seen a generation that's going to have this much overlap. Pretty much every developer has said like, yep, into 2021, we're probably still going to be releasing games on all consoles. It's so bizarre.
Well, if I may, you know, the one thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, as I promised we would kind of jump off that subject, Dreamcast guy, you mentioned it earlier, and I watched your video on it. You got a chance to play a next generation game in Outriders. what is it?
Wow.
You know, and you were amazed by it, and I think that these are by the folks that made Bulletstorm. You know, the thing about it is that it looked like a lot of fun. And do you think, you know, one of the things that happens with early generation games is they're under a microscope like unbelievable. What is it from what you played, and you'll kind of be rehashing your review from your video here a bit. What is it from what you played that you'd say are the pros and maybe some weary cons that you may have stepped away from? And where did you play it? Was it on PC, you said, or was it on a dedicated?
It was on, so what they did is when they took us in there, they said these are super tuned up PCs that are aiming to be basically in range of next gen consoles. They basically are like, this is what we're making it on for next gen consoles. So we played it in basically like a simulated version of what next gen consoles will be. It was a PC setup and it had an Xbox controller. I chose to play it with the controller. I actually love the Xbox controller. So all my footage you'll notice has the Xbox prompts. What I can do is, I wish I could stream this to you. I actually have a bunch of the footage in 4K on my computer, and I was only allowed to use like 15 minutes of it in my video, but I have like 3 hours of it saved.
Oh, nice.
It's so clean. It's so good. My one downside to it is definitely the art. I feel like we've just gone past the grays and browns games whenever we go back to that, especially because it's fucking 4K to see such an HD beautiful game and it's like mud splatters for 3 hours. It's kind of a downside. I think it's really, really fun though. I like it. It almost has a superhero feeling to it because everybody has these powers of electricity and rock and fire, and so it makes it where you end up sort of complementing each other's powers. It's really, really fun. I'm kind of curious how it ends up selling. I feel like a lot of people are going to say that it's Anthem-like. I think a lot of people are going to say it's Destiny-like because of the look, but that's not at all how it plays. When you're actually sitting,
not a game as a service though. Like the
No,
developers are adamant about saying that. Like, dude, I gotta ask you, Dreamcast. I gotta ask you real quick.
Please.
Did you play as the trickster?
No, so I did it because the guy I was playing with, I ended up, when I got there was this random like a games journalist dude named Greg, and we sat down. There were stations for everything, and you could be whatever class you wanted. But since I was recording gameplay for a video, I didn't want to be redundant. So when I met up with him, we just decided, I was like, what class do you want to be? And he's like, well, I got to try trickster. So I ended up being... Dude, the fire class, honestly, I like the fire class the most because you can basically put grenades inside of people. You like snap your fingers and it'll send an explosive into somebody's body and it'll be like lighting them on fire. And if you manage to kill them during the duration of the fire effect, they explode. So a lot of times what I do is I'd get out my sniper rifle, light somebody on fire, shoot them in the head, and then they'd blow up on everybody around him. And it was just... It's just so fun. We did it over and over.
DC,
Dreamcast guy, would you mind if I ask?
Oh, go ahead.
Did you get? Okay, because we know people can fly. They're ultra talented, right? And I loved Bulletstorm. I loved it so much. I played it on multiple platforms. Did you get the same kind of wackiness? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that the way that you could, because there was a lot of different weapons that you could use to destroy your enemies in and obviously Bulletstorm. Did you get that kind of a feeling that they really hearken down on making you feel like a god?
No, not at all. It's definitely it's 100% different direction. Same developers, but I can tell that they're trying to make it more grounded. The combat at times feels a little bit slowed down, but I like that. The enemies are... enemies are armored without being bullet spongy. Like if you shoot a guy in the head, he's fucking dead. But at the same time, there are these suicide guys who are wearing like bulletproof vests and have these giant meat cleavers, and they usually run at you like 2 at a time. And so usually my trickster buddy Greg would have to do the AoE slowdown. Oh, excuse me. He'd slow him down, and then I'd have to mow him down. But it is definitely a different pacing. It does have a lot of cover base. It feels almost like at times like a really zoomed out version of Gears of War combat with magic.
Okay. Nice.
Well, you know, the one thing that you'd mentioned in your early review, and I shouldn't say review, but your initial thoughts, DC, but one thing that kind of got me was you said that they gave you the ability to scale the difficulty. And I know you really, you really emphasized this as a positive. When you initially said it, I kind of took it as a negative. Let's put it this way. So if I'm playing this with you and I'm in your world, I want to play it on the hardest difficulty because you said they came over and they were like, "Hey, do you want to put this on a lower?" You're like, "No, you're like, get away from me. I'm playing it on hard."
Yeah.
That's how I enjoy to play the games as well. Do you think that somebody who would be playing it on an easier difficulty, did they say that they would be obtaining less gear, have less access? Because right? Because it would have to be.
So I have a screenshot of it, and basically the way it works is the higher difficulty, the more rare gear you get. So it makes it harder, but I don't think it gives you more experience. It's basically that you just get better guns faster. And so since we were playing on max difficulty, we were getting like crazy blue rocket launchers. I had a shotgun that could light people on fire at one point, just like really bonkers stuff because we were playing on the hardest difficulty. But I looked at other guys on the other screens and stuff who maybe worked at IGN and sucked at the game, and they were playing it on the easiest difficulty, and they're mowing people down and getting like garbage ass white items that have like no stats on them and stuff. And I think that's the way it's going to work, is like if you want to challenge yourself, it's high risk, high reward, but I don't think it's going to make you won't get power leveled. And I think they probably did that so you can't glitch it out the way that some people did in like in Destiny, where people originally were like doing the loot caves where you just shot a respawn point for maximum XP or anything. It seems like it's really made so you can tune it to get the kind of fun out of it you want.
No, and I think you did a great job. Honestly, everybody was kind of just, well, what else is new, right? DC, everybody's always so negative. But you did a great job of portraying the positives on that game.
Yeah, it was fun. And also, it's one of those things that when I'm playing a new game that's super fresh and interesting, I'm super excited. I did see some people who say the game looks boring or the game looks too like muddy or I can't believe these are like next-gen graphics. And honestly, I feel like those are fair criticisms. I don't know. It's one of those things where actually playing it, like getting to sit down and play 3 hours of this and see the weird lore and stuff. I don't know. I was very, very into it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Buck Nass, shout out to Buck Nass in Super Chat. He says, "Woo! To be the man, you have to beat the man." Woo! Appreciate that. Sony Prophet says, "Is Boomstick a member of the Flat Earth Society?" Sony Prophet, that's not true. And no, he's not. Senor Bombastic is completely in on the round. Okay,
no, it's funny. It's funny that you can see that unless you are sucking the PlayStation bleep, even though I
appreciate that bleep boom. Thank you.
As I probably have more trophies than a lot of these trolls. And I talk about Sony in a positive, I think on a positive light almost weekly. The minute you try to curve to the left, you get blindsided by Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal. And listen, I can take the insults for Christ's sake, because I was a cop, and you know what? You can only imagine what I was called in my 21+ year career. But come on, guys.
It's officer friendly, by the way, too. So that's why the bleep came in there, Senor Bombastic. I appreciate that.
Boo, by the way, I love when you bring up the trophies thing, because I'm like, yep.
I mean, listen, listen. Okay, maybe I don't have a level 34 with 19 platinums. But I still I'm just a hair away from level 13, and I only play their exclusives. And I think I'm very transparent about that. But I do have almost I should be crossing 300,000 this year as my gamer score. Folks, I play games, even though there's a lot of people.
Oh, boom! You're not in question at all for that.
When it comes down to it, gamer score trophies, stuff like that, doesn't mean you're any more or any less of a gamer.
And I agree.
Agreed.
The achievements and stuff like that are what get you to earn these things. So, like in Halo 5, I spent most of my time in multiplayer. I got my multiplayer achievements,
and then once you get them, that's it.
That's it. But if you look at, like, I have over 3 months in game, like actually in game on Halo 5, then know I played that game.
That's also called a problem, Xbot. But nonetheless,
I can stop whenever I want to, brother.
Yes, you can. So here's a great one, and it's great to have Dreamcast Guy here, because Dreamcast Guy has made an absolute plethora of videos on this. And as I'm watching it, right, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm listening to the videos, I'm like, no! I'm like, Dreamcast Guy, don't say that! Right? Now, Dreamcast Guy, you are not going by your videos, I haven't spoke to you on this one. You're not a seemingly huge Stadia fan.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, no.
So,
no.
Listen, I'm not, and everyone always, and don't get me wrong, it's been a great.
I got my popcorn ready.
Right, it's been an ongoing great joke. I'm not a fan. I'm just, my case has always been, DC, I'll make my case, and then I really want to hear your points. My case is we are moving.
You're getting paid for every time you say Stadia.
Right? You like that, Boom? You know what I've received? I get a Stadia scratch and sniff sticker. That's about all I got. Right? So my point being is this. If we're moving into a new era where we're at least going to sit here and logically say that we are moving into streaming, cloud stream gaming as a viable option, not nearly are we ever close. I don't care what your favorite company is. I don't care if it's xCloud or it's Stadia or it's the NVIDIA or that came out recently or what Amazon's proposing. It doesn't matter. The one thing I'm saying is this. Right now, xCloud's going to come out and they're going to have a leg up with their great catalog of games. But it's not like xCloud's going to come out and then everybody else is going to be like, they got a great catalog of games. Let's leave it where it is. I think Stadia, I've been a Stadia Pro member since day one because I wanted to see if the tech worked. I re-upped. The Stadia Pro membership just ended yesterday for me. I re-upped for a month. I re-upped for 1 month.
It auto-renewed, yeah.
No. I elected to not auto-renew. I actually, I've been in this game for a while. But DC, you've made a series, and you can see the audience is already getting worked up over this. Again, it's not that I'm not promoting Stadia. I never do. All I'm saying is it's a viable option, and it's pretty much the only competitor as far as a company that can compete with Microsoft's Azure. That is the great Google, who has YouTube and everything else. Right, we're on it right now. So, DC, what I'm saying is they are the only true competitor currently, I think, to Microsoft. But where is it that you finally saw where you may say, I see a silver lining, or no, you still stick with Stadia's DOA? Not DOA, but dead.
Well, so Stadia is dead, but the silver lining is that I think you're exactly right in that this is the eventual future. Like, everything is going to become cloud-based eventually. And there's a philosopher named Nassim Taleb, and he has a book called Anti-Fragile. And in Anti-Fragile, it's like a philosophy book about like business and stuff. And at one point he talks about the fact that like the hardest part of business is that people have to go out there and fail. We need people to just crash into the rocks and sink and die so everyone else can succeed. And I think Google Stadia is that. I think Google Stadia is the person who has sailed into the rocks and is dying, but somebody had to do it. Somebody had to invest billions of dollars into trying to make a streaming platform, and they're failing right now, but people are going to build upon this. Microsoft is going to get past this. Maybe PlayStation Now will stop sucking dick so much, and it will get better. And I think it'll be cool to see where it goes. I've actually talked to people in the industry who have said that Sony and Microsoft at their companies has talked about the idea of game consoles eventually going away, and everybody will you will have an Xbox controller and you'll pay like a monthly fee. Like, basically think of Games Pass streaming, PlayStation Now streaming, but on every TV. Just by having a physical controller, whatever TV you're next to will automatically stream your PlayStation account with your PlayStation save files and your PlayStation trophies. That's what they want to get to. I do think it's really far away. I just can't. It's not here yet. I think that this is something that's 8 years away, 10 years away, 15 years away. I just don't think we have the physical infrastructure for that much data yet.
I'm not going to argue with, but have you tried it yet, Dreamcast guy? Have you tried Stadia?
Have you tried it?
I have. It's better. It's better. I'll admit, not only is it better, they actually keep improving it. It's very clearly something that they are working on. They did like a weird like secret patch thing recently, and now what is it called? Red Dead Redemption 2 runs a lot better.
Yes. I mean, the games run very smoothly. I played Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's very.
It's a game by game basis, man.
I don't think it's game by game. I think here's the thing. I've said this a number of times on Xbox. I'll give you the mic after this. My thing about it is this. Not only is Google coming in with new technology, it's the first time they're dipping their big toe into the gaming pool, right? So they're not coming out with a traditional box, right? Everybody, remember the Mad Box? Remember a year ago? The Mad Box! It's going to be a competitor, right? And everybody goes,
cool.
The Mad... Right, exactly. People are like, oh, this is a good shot. They got a real chance. Listen, they didn't have a chance. They had no chance at all. They had no chance at all. This is an honest-to-God chance where you say, listen, Stadia can come out and do everything. Dreamcast, what you said was not wrong. What I'm saying to you is that they have time to fail right now. This isn't costing them that much. They have the infrastructure. If eventually this is going to be a thing, I think you heard, and listen, guys, if you guys are all right now in the chat going, Mooch doesn't know what he's talking about. He's completely lost it. Phil said
out loud.
Well, Xbox, really before you say that, don't forget your guardian and savior, Phil. He already said this, right? Phil came out and said,
hold on. I don't hold Phil on that.
I know you don't. I know. Well, you're man. But here's my thing though. Phil came out and said his competitors are going to be Google and Amazon.
I feel like
why would he say that if Stadia wasn't the thing that they're concerned about?
Because they have money. That's
right, and they have Stadia.
But when it comes down to it, I actually, with looking at all this, I feel Nvidia might creep up there as the actual kind of like competition. And the reason why, hold on, say the reason why is because they have roots in PC gaming. All right, when it comes down to it. And I also believe there are some cloud infrastructure that is actually run by Nvidia hardware as well. If they really wanted to play ball and they wanted to be pushy about things, you know what I'm saying? They'll be like, well, our tech is in your cloud infrastructure and whatnot. And then with them, I think the Nvidia thing, I think they have a deal with Steam as well.
So let me ask Xbox.
They got the roots in the gaming community already.
Xbox, can I ask you a question though? If Stadia was to make a deal and have something similar to a Game Pass available and it became a subscription-built service, now does your tune change?
Well, see, the thing about it, I think the thing with Stadia that really, like, the reason why it stumbled out the gate was, I think a big thing was the price point and what they were doing with that.
DC, so let me ask. There's only a few people on
rework it.
Let me ask DC a quick question. DC, have you tried Stadia and xCloud?
xCloud. A lot of people I really personally trust have tried xCloud, and they've said it's very seamless. A lot of people have said that it's the one-to-one experience, but a lot of it were controlled environments. A lot of them were at trade shows. I don't know anybody yet who's tried xCloud because it's out now, right? It's like something you could just play at your house. Yeah,
I'm playing it right now.
Yeah, you can. I've also heard from people that it plays very well. Don't get me wrong. xCloud's doing very well. But there's articles out, and Enrique, you've seen the articles. We've talked about them. Yeah. Stadia still has. They say side by side, Stadia is the better tech currently. So go ahead, Enrique.
Yeah, I was going to chime in real quick. I don't think the issue is the technology here at hand. The problem that Stadia has, and I've said this before,
it's the games.
It's the value proposition. The games. Like they're the value prop. Like it's okay. Here we're Stadia. We're this virtual console. But where's the value proposition? Like, they don't have
So, Enrique, let me ask you a question, because I like where you're going with this, but hear me out. This is what I'm saying. You said it earlier, maybe it was Xbox. Xbox might have just said it a moment ago. Yeah. He said the reason that Phil said Google is because they have money. Well, hear me out. Except for Halo, Forza, and Gears, okay, currently, Stadia could do their own, they can make their own deals with other companies like Ubisoft and Square, and they can have their own streaming service up in no time, right? I mean, it's not...
Absolutely. Look, I'm not saying that they can't turn it around. What I'm saying is the issue they're having right now, they don't have that must-have killer app.
Absolutely not. They do not.
Want to say, you know what? I need Google Stadia.
Absolutely.
They don't have that. That's the biggest... And now you're competing with things like, NVIDIA, GeForce Now, where you could play your games, your current game library.
But Enrique... If Google is being,
that's the big thing right
if
there,
their fear is Google and Amazon because of the money, then why is it that nobody's willing to fathom that they've put the money, the resources, and listen, we can all make fun of Phil Harrison and the people they've acquired because they weren't on teams that were winners all the time, but these are people that have been in the game business for a long time. You got to respect their repertoire and their resume. My point being is, Google could go out and buy a big top game and a developing team, or maybe not a developing team, but just one game that's exclusive, and there's your killer app.
I mean, but they could, and I'm not saying that they can't. The problem is when is that going to happen? Like, you're going up, like, xCloud is a tremendous, like from a value proposition. I love xCloud because I've got all these games, Game Pass, all these games that are coming in.
What's the rush though?
Well, I'm not saying. What I'm saying
xCloud's in beta. Nvidia, nobody knows about. What's the rush? They don't have to rush.
Nvidia's gaining traction, brother.
But Nvidia's out of beta. But here's the thing: Nvidia's out of beta now, right? It's a very attractive service. I mean, as a gamer, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to buy my games. I can just pay $5 a month and stream them to any device. Like that's great.
I find it ironic that everybody's willing. Like Amazon's not even out the gate yet, and everyone's like, "Let's go Amazon."
Well, I wouldn't even say let's go.
We don't even know what Amazon's doing.
Yeah, I know that they're working on games, but I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I'd say Amazon at least has like their development studio with what is it, Other World or New World or something.
New Worlds, yeah,
New World.
Well, I guess
they're doing something.
Well, but Stadia bought a few developing teams as well, and one of them has got a great game out right now. What is it there? The Planet game there, saving the planet.
They have. I think the challenge though is.
Go ahead,
tell you something. I just want to say something, like just to stir this conversation a little bit. I have been shown games as of last year that are still not out for Stadia. I was shown some Stadia exclusive games that we still haven't seen in trailers. We haven't seen anything. So to me, I'm kind of at that point where Stadia is going to keep getting better. Stadia is going to keep improving, but I'm wondering where these projects are at. Like, these are games that you would recognize, and I'm kind of just sitting in that place now where I'm kind of just like, is Google just waiting? I don't know. It's the thing of
what did you think of those games? Initial thought.
I mean, they're impressive, but they were just, graphics are easy. Like, right. And obviously those were on dev kits and not being streamed. Like, one of them was a racing game, and it's kind of one of those things of how will a racing game play with like any input delay, So I don't know. I'm curious how Stadia is actually going to grow.
So Mooch, what I'm saying is basically if when xCloud comes out, like Microsoft can say, hey, you know what, we have xCloud, but guess what? We have all these franchises already. We have Halo Infinite, we have Forza, we have Fable, we have all the studio acquisitions that you can play these games via xCloud. And I'm not saying that Google can't get there, but my only concern potentially is that they don't get there quick enough. Then maybe they get left in the dust a little bit.
I'll ride with you on that, Enrique, but we're not there. We're so far away from being left in the dust when you're talking about this is such a new technology. That's the thing. Everyone's like Stadia's DOA, and I'm like, well, who's actually running away with the baton?
Dude, hold on.
Nobody.
NVIDIA GeForce Now, that was actually the streaming
Xbot.
Service that
you got to remember something.
Hold on.
Nobody knows.
Real quick.
Go ask Forte. Forte, how many people know? Forte, how many people know about NVIDIA in your shop? Nobody.
Forte, how many people know about xCloud?
Yeah, how many people know about xCloud?
More than nobody.
More than NVIDIA.
More than one person.
More than nobody.
Right.
Yeah. No, but NVIDIA, you got to remember, NVIDIA, to the PC gaming community, that name is absolutely known. And go back and check how many.
Do you know why? Listen, but do you know why?
No, dude. Let's be for real. NVIDIA is known for graphics cards. Streaming definitely is not one of the things they're known for. You forget they have hardware that's out in the wild.
NVIDIA has the guts to be asking for $1,200 components.
Right,
okay, this is not like people who are buying this and have NVIDIA and are PC gamers. They're not like, you know what? Let me put my $3,500 rig aside. I'm going to take my phone on the road. No, they're not. My point being is this: when it comes down to
people with high-end NVIDIA gear have laptops to match that if they want to play on the go.
What I'm saying is I think xCloud, it's going to be xCloud, it's going to be Stadia, and then whatever Amazon comes out with. NVIDIA, I don't get me wrong, great service, but it's not the market. That's not the same group of gamers we're talking about.
Gap.
Everybody mark this episode, okay?
Oh, here we go again.
Mark this episode.
I got a question for you. But there is an advantage though with content with xCloud though, and so
absolutely.
If I'm Google and I'm trying to sell you this virtual console, and then Microsoft's saying, hey, we have a physical console you can buy, and with that physical console, you could take. We have all these franchises already. We have the Halos, the Gears,
absolutely.
The Forzas. We have all these things, and
they got a leg up.
Yeah, like, hey, look, we have this streaming service. It's great, but we don't have, if you want to play, Rise of Tomb Raider, maybe you own it on the Xbox, you got to buy it again. I mean,
I got news for you. I think the way that they could fix the problem very simply is if they offer a Game Pass like service.
I agree with Boom.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, that would really, really.
That's what means a lot to people when you're taking a phone on the road. Listen, I've been saying this a lot. And DC, tell me, it's great to have you on the show because this is funny. These are the things that we've been talking about for weeks. But like you see Twitter, I know you're very active on Twitter. You keep your eye on it. And whenever somebody tweets out Stadia or xCloud, they're like, loving my experience. And they take a picture of it for Twitter, right? You know where they are? Their living room. They're in the living room next to their 65-inch television and their dedicated hardware. My point is I get it. We're doing it for fun. We're showing it
out, man. What the frick?
Well, but testing it out is not the same thing. It's using it regularly, becoming a customer.
If they're using it on their phone, then what are they taking the picture with?
Their spouse's phone.
Say, babe, let me see your phone so I can take a picture of me.
Yeah, that's all it is. You know how many times we all do that?
So if you go out and about, like you're not going to be able to take a picture of it unless.
Hey, babe, let me use your phone so I can take a picture.
Exactly.
While I'm looking at this.
I'm only allowed to have Twitter on your phone, so can I use a Twitter picture?
And I mean, I think we've all, listen, this is what I've said since day one when people are like, oh, Mooch is a big Stadia fan. No, it's not that at all. Listen, first of all, okay, I've got a great PC that me and Enrique, we game, we talk, we hang out.
You don't utilize it enough, Mooch.
I really don't. I'm still a console guy. I'm sorry. I'm a console guy. I'm built that way. But nonetheless, right, we have dedicated hardware in PS4 Pros and Xbox One X's. Okay. Listen, I travel for work. I've said this a number of times, hundreds of times on the show. I want to be able to take something. And Dreamcast guy, I'm going to have to ask for earmuffs because Dreamcast guy's a huge Nintendo Switch fan, and he's not going to like this. I take my Switch on the road all the time, but sometimes I want to play like Destiny 2 on the road, So xCloud and Stadia, they ring that bell for me. So I got really excited when I saw that because I'm on the road a portion of the time, that I could actually utilize some of the AAA games from third-party teams that, aren't going to be me playing Breath of the Wild or me playing Bayonetta or me playing like Luigi's Mansion 3 all the time on the road. So I got excited about that, but DC, I'm going back to you because I asked you a question and then we had that great little mid joke there. Like myself personally, I think that it's a viable option, and I'm just thinking to myself, do you think that streaming? You said yourself you had a couple of examples where Sony and Microsoft maybe are throwing around internal ideas where dedicated hardware is going to be a thing of the past after this. Is that something you think will become a thing?
I mean, we're talking about distant future, man. I mean, this stuff is probably a decade away. Right now, I'm glad that it exists. Right now, I'm glad that there are these projects that, in my opinion, are basically glorified betas. But I can't imagine anybody having this as their dedicated gaming style. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the world who's like, well, I got Google Stadia, so now I don't need a Nintendo Switch.
Exactly.
Just throws the Switch out the window.
Exactly.
Weird things have happened in this community.
That is true, Forte. But I do think. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, in the current version, it's, I would say, super supplemental. Like, it is never a preferred way to play ever, in my opinion. So, I don't know. Unless it's managing to drastically improve and drastically grow and stop having $60 games that came out 10 years ago on it or whatever,
right.
Then yeah, I definitely think it has potential, but in its current form, I don't think it's worth it at all.
Enrique said the right thing before. Enrique said the right thing before.
Man, call him by his stage name.
Call me with my stage name.
Artist formerly known as Enrique.
Existing libraries. When it comes down to it, NVIDIA, they have an existing library to pull from. When it comes to xCloud, you have Game Pass, all that stuff. You have an existing library that people are already invested in, which I think we can all agree xCloud is going to tie right in with Game Pass. All right. When it comes to Stadia, unfortunately, Google had to start absolutely from scratch. All right. So when it comes down to it, Dreamcast said it is a great supplement. All right. One thing I don't think people are going to want to do when it comes to that supplement is spend another $60 to get the same game on a different platform just because it'll be on multiple devices.
Hey, man, I always say this: never count something out until it's completely dead, because people were saying the same thing back in 2000 when Xbox was finally announced and a game called Halo was announced along with it, and people was like, it's crazy and we don't know what Microsoft is doing, and look where they are now.
Right.
It only takes one game to do it. So I will never say that Stadia can't survive. They do need to have the IP that's going to help propel them, especially in this type of client that we are, where all of these everybody's trying to have a niche. And that's going to be the thing that they need to figure out. But I won't ever count them out until Google themselves or pulls the plug on it themselves.
That's true. No, it's very true.
Stadia needs to shock people, and I've been saying this. I'm gonna speak directly to Google here because, of course, they watch the amazing CrossFire.
Thank you, Dreamcast.
Yes, they do. They do.
I think what they need to do is they need to show something that could only exist on Stadia. I've been saying this from the start. Is they've claimed that it'll be able to, since there's not going to be a current console, everything exists on a server. Here's my pitch: make Fortnite, like get Fortnite, port it on there, start advertising Fortnite, and I want you to do something, which is make the first ever 200-person mode. Instead of making it 100 people jumping on an island, show us the tech, show us how this is going to be different, show us what a cloud game looks like, and then make an exclusive skin, because idiot kids love those stupid skins.
They love them!
Yeah, they're like, look at me.
My wife spent over like $200 on skins.
People go into a store and buy a fake disc just to get skins exclusive to whatever store they go to.
They likes Pikachu's.
Isn't that amazing?
Sounds like he loves that idea so much too.
Shout out to Rock. I want to say a quick shout out to RockDog31 in Super Chat. Rock, by the way, Rock's a big Xbox fan. Rock, thanks for always being here every Friday. I appreciate it. He says the bigger question is if it is 12 teraflops, he's talking, of course, about, I believe, the Xbox Series X. Will it cost $600? So
yes,
before we go to our next topic, let's answer that real quick. Do you guys feel like I feel like it's going to be $600 for the Series X, and I think that the PS5 will be $500.
No way. No.
Only $500.
Series X is going to be $600. PS5 is going to be $500, and then the Series S will be $400.
Look, man, I've been saying before these systems even got announced, what a spec even talked about, there was going to be $600. But
$600.
I want Microsoft to be bold and do something that nobody thinks they're going to do and sell that thing at a loss. Because if they sell it at $6, I don't think they sell it at a loss. If they sell it at $5, then that's going to show confidence that, hey, not only are we looking out for our consumer base that want to buy the system, we're going to basically be as competitive as we can with the competing system, and that's what I want them to do. But
point.
Really, just depends on. Honestly, we're just waiting on Sony at this point.
I still gave it on PC.
Basically,
start playing PC.
Go ahead, DC. What were you saying?
Every console ever has been sold at a loss, but I get what you're saying. They need to be willing to take that substantial hit per console, because if it's $600, I actually was reported there were a bunch of leaks early last year. I was actually reporting Project Epsilon, like the early prototype PlayStation 5 when it was first being talked about. There were these internal slides that were leaked. And I reported on it at the time, and even then I was afraid it was going to be $600. If this thing turns out to be, if PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X is $600, I think that's going to be bad, man. That's just
it was still. I agree. I think it will still sell.
Agree.
It would just be a slower adoption rate. That's all.
Yeah, but that's not going to be good though.
But think about it. Wait, but hear what Gaming Forte just said. That was interesting, actually. I love how these guys, there's just certain words that ring, and I have to bring this up. So Microsoft's Matt Booty came out and said, we're not going to show the true power of the, I shouldn't say he said that, but we're not going to show exclusives that are just destined for the Series X for a year or two out. And hear what he just said. It'll be a slow adoption rate. But guess what? Does Microsoft care? Not really. Nope. Second of all, there's rumored to be a Lockhart or a Series S, if you will. Well, there's your cheaper option. So Microsoft is trying to say we have bookends. We have the expensive if you want now in your third-party games, and our other games will be upraised and look amazing on it. Or we have a cheaper option, the Series S, we'll call it, a.k.a. Lockhart. And that'll be cheaper than the PS5 and still give you new-gen tech and play games better than your Xbox One X. Meanwhile, you have PS5, which literally is like the Goldilocks, right? It's right in the middle, and it's just right. It's going to be just as powerful as be playing 4K 60, and it'll be $100 less than the Series X.
Yeah, see, I try to always remove myself from the console, the peasantry side of this when I talk about that type of stuff. But the biggest thing that people got to realize is Microsoft, as much as I know they're being very ultra competitive right now and the messaging is on point, Microsoft knows that especially if they have this Lockhart 2 console approach, they're going to hit from both sides. And they're looking at it like, we don't mind if you buy our $600 console. We don't mind if you buy the $400 or $300 console. We don't even care if you play our games on the console at all. You can play them on PC, your mobile phone, where it doesn't matter.
Play our games.
And just play our games. And that's the one thing that people do not really get. And I understand people want the Xbox Series X to come out and be $500 or lower. I mean, we know it's not going to be lower, but $500 would be the sweet spot for that system. And everybody wants that because they want to say, man, Microsoft's being competitive with PlayStation. Well, they're being competitive with PlayStation. And the thing is, who cares if they're being competitive on the system side? Are they being competitive with the games? That's the only thing that should honestly matter to everybody. Are the games what's going to make this service be what it needs to be with xCloud and Game Pass? And yes, you can think about it like this. They sell the Series X at $600, but they say Game Pass is in that in every Xbox Series X for the first three months. Maybe they get bolder and say, hey, you buy a Series X and you get Game Pass for a year. We already know they're willing to give Game Pass away for $1 for 3 months.
Why not give it out a year?
So why not give it out for a year for everybody that wants it?
Launch lineups, baby.
Forte, are you saying that they'll launch the Series X at $600 then, right? I don't think Lockhart.
I'm just saying that they launch it at $600, I wouldn't be mad at them because they're probably going to have a way of counteracting anything price point that Sony says. Sony says $500. You still got to buy the games for the system. Xbox is saying we're giving you Halo day one and every Xbox exclusive day one with your system. And guess what? You're going to get all those benefits for 3 months to a year, depending on what they want to say. Right there, a person, and then all your stuff moves forward. Your controllers move forward. You don't have to buy anything. All you got to do is walk in the store and buy a system. You don't have to do anything else. And that's beneficial to a lot of people.
I don't know how much that's going to appeal to a casual gamer, though.
Exactly.
This isn't about casual. It's early though. Later on, you got to. It's going to sell out regardless at the beginning. If they make 4 million systems, 4 million systems are going to sell out no matter what's going to happen.
So you're saying that they don't care about selling new hardware per se.
They never cared about selling new hardware as of lately.
As much as Sony does, like Jim Ryan's saying, we got to get the PlayStation 5 as quickly.
Have you heard Microsoft? What has been the narrative around Microsoft at E3 for the last few years? What has Phil Spencer said on stage for the last few years? Engagement numbers. We're making the system for the fans, not because Microsoft wants to make the system. They're making it because people still clamor and like to have that physical media and physical drive underneath their TV that allows them to play the games the way they want to play it. If Microsoft had their way, all of us would be playing in the cloud by now already. They've been trying to do this since 2013. So this is just another step in a direction that they finally are going to ultimately get to. And Sony, just like Jim Ray, people want to take what he said lately out of context and stuff and say that, well, it's all about engagement numbers. But not even a year ago, they said we want to move as many people from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 at an unprecedented rate. And that's what we're looking to do with our next system. And I think that's why people are baffled that they haven't came out and given a price point or anything. And also with the news of this system being somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 to $500, can you move that many people at that price point? And that's kind of sketchy to a lot, like Dreamcast just said. You're not going to do that with the not the hardcore will do it, but the casual base isn't going to move at that price. But it depends on the next year. What's going to happen over the course of a year? It's what's going to dictate these systems.
Can I just address the chat real quick? Because people are talking about
the chat is yours.
A casual isn't a casual isn't buying any $500 system. People are like $600, hell no, and stuff like that. But if the Series S comes in at $400, and if these quote unquote casuals bought a system this generation, they can trade that in and get money off of the $400 Series S. All of a sudden, casuals are looking at this thing like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get a brand new system for under $400.
What's funny is I don't even think these systems, I don't even think the $300, $400, $600, whatever system they sell, I don't think it's going to sell like everybody thinks it's going to sell, because you still, like most of these, a lot of people still, unless you got an original Xbox or Xbox One S, maybe you will make that jump to the Lockhart if that's actually a thing. If you already got an Xbox One X, do you really have to make that jump right then and there? That's why I say the adoption rate is going to be super slow. And it's going to be cool just because they're going to sell out regardless of whatever they put out. But most people aren't going to move until they have a legitimate reason to move, like Destiny not running on the original Xbox systems anymore, or we're not making Call of Duty and it's only going to be exclusive to the new gen platform. That's what's going to make people move, not just the fact that they're releasing a system.
Yo, Forte, I cannot wait to play Destiny 2 on the new systems, because Rainbow Road.
You can do that right now. Go get a PC.
Dude, you want to buy a PC for me? You want to buy,
I'm just messing with you, bro.
$800,000,
But I did cut Dreamcast off. I didn't mean to do that. Dreamcast, what were you about to say?
No, you were finishing a good point. Totally fair. I don't know. I guess I halfway agree with you, and I halfway. I think the thing that I wish chat would kind of acknowledge is the fact that casual gamers buy a lot. Like casual gamers in my opinion, the main difference between casual and hardcore is just how informed they are and how much they spend overall. Casual gamers only buy 2 or 3 games a year, but they're still buying games, they're buying consoles, they're spending money on shitty ass Candy Crush, but they're out there. And I definitely think that if you tell them this is the Xbox Series X, no, it doesn't have a game in the box, but there's a coupon that makes it where you can install games for free, those people are going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I think that's something of like, I'm curious how much casual gamers gravitate towards PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X.
No, that's a good point. Now, do a quick shout out real quick to Mr. Miracle in the chat, who says Xbox has power and price now, still in third place. Outstanding point.
Well, this generation's over with, so.
This is true. And then M. Strong says the elephant in the room is, will Halo Infinite actually deliver? We do have a resident expert.
Absolutely right about that.
Hey,
dude, we got boats and everything going in Halo now. Come on, man.
Mooch, I want to comment real quick on that chat about third place. You know what's funny is I see people say that a lot. In reality, these companies don't care about place per se.
Right.
And I see people saying this, like, look, the Xbox is driving revenue for Microsoft. It's profitable. They're successful in that regard. That's the thing that defines success, not necessarily whether it's first, second, or third place.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. Like, nobody is losing. And if you want to point and laugh at Microsoft or say, oh, there's not that many Nintendo Switches selling right now or whatever, it's like, bro, these people are so rich they are pooping in gold toilets. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the definition of success for these companies is driving revenue and profitability, and that's it. It's not about first, second, third. Sure, I'm sure Microsoft would like to be in a dominant position. Sure, but at the end of the day, they're looking at that bottom line. Are we profitable? And that's it. And they are.
I agree. Now, listen, this has been a controversial topic, and shout out to Salty, who's in the chat. We've got to do this topic here. I got to hear what Dreamcast is. Dreamcast, he kind of flirts on his channel with these kind of hot subjects that come up. And Ninja came out recently, and he made a couple of like really kind of rash statements about being competitive and how streaming is. And Dreamcast, I know that, I don't know how much you do know that I enjoy Twitch streaming. I love talking to the community while I'm playing a game and getting encouragement and getting help and just enjoying that.
The skill, by the way, because I find myself very out of sorts.
Absolutely, Boom.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of people don't realize that to have, and that's the one thing. I always encourage selfless plug right on my own channel, the Mooch78 on Twitch. But like you go over, I talk to the audience the entire time while I'm playing the game.
You got it.
And I love it. I truly do. So it's not easy. No, I'll say this. It's not easy. I recommend people to try it, but it's not an easy thing. But, when you hear someone like Ninja comes out and he says he's competitive, I actually say, okay, that's cool, because you know what? I like that competitive edge, but I think he may have crossed the line with how he got so. It wasn't derogatory. It wasn't like he got really rude in his terminology.
Pompous.
But he really kind of got a little bit overboard on it. Now, Dreamcast guy, you sometimes dabble in some of this stuff. What was your take on Ninja's reaction and outburst? I'll kind of put it that way.
Very disconnected. So just for full honesty, Ninja is the guy who got me into watching live streams. I'd never really watched live streams.
He's one of them. Yeah.
That was for me, that was my gateway drug. It was the first guy where I was like, oh, this is a person playing at higher skill level than I could ever achieve. He's talking to chat. It was very interesting to me. But I feel like he's also just kind of disconnected because he is now a guy who's a mega millionaire who plays games all day long, who is signing all these secret contracts and deals. To him, these games are work. They are a career. Getting headshots is literally signing checks to him now, Mm-hmm. So I feel like his mindset is very different. And I don't think he's able to step out of that bubble now. It's his entire universe. Everybody he talks to is a giant Twitch streamer who's playing games all day. So when he wants to talk about it on Twitter, his terminology is a bit weird. I definitely think the way him being like every time you lose, you're supposed to get angry. And if you don't get angry, you just double lost, bitch. Teabag yourself.
That Dubro mentality.
When it comes down to it, because I'm raising kids. I have 12-year-old twins. I have a 16-year-old. 16-year-old is pretty much set in his ways, right? But one thing I noticed with the 12-year-olds, because they like to watch a lot of streamers and everything like that, they have a tendency to get really angry at points in time. And me being a parent, what I do with it, because I let them know, I'm like, yo, games are supposed to be fun. And if you're sitting over here raging and you're about to throw your controller, I had one of my 12-year-olds break one of his headsets because he took it off and slammed it on the ground. I was like, well, guess what? You don't have a headset anymore. When it comes down to it, he's got to realize that he influences a younger generation out there as well. And games at their core, they can be competitive. Yeah, there's a lot of sweaty people out there, in Call of Duty and Halo multiplayer and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be about fun. And if you're out there and if you're in the eyes of the younger generation, you got to put it out there about the core element of a game. And it's not just, if you lose, you should get angry and stuff like that. Because I'll tell the kids right off the bat, if I hear them screaming, I ask them why. And if they're like, oh, it's because I lost, I'm like, all right, we'll switch the game.
Right.
You're not having fun right now. And if you're not having fun, you're missing the purpose of video games.
Yeah, but I think, okay, so when it comes to
24/7, brother.
Who, me? I'm always
it's just people general.
Well, that's the thing. So I think Dreamcast is right when he said he's disconnected, because he truly is. He really is truly disconnected because of the type of how he plays. And I could kind of not as good as him, but I kind of had those same sentiments when a person in a chat or just in general tells you to calm down because something that happened in a game that you probably didn't agree with, or a way that you could have played it better, and they tell you, it's just a game. To you, the reason you're overreacting probably to it is because you probably saw something that you did wrong, or or a play that could have happened in a different way, and that person took advantage of it, and you're kind of processing that all at the same time. I do that all the time when I play shooters, and that's why when I won't play certain games with certain people unless I just know I'm going in there to have fun. Because if I play a game and I lose, I will literally go off the deep end in my mind. I can't believe that just happened, because I am notorious at going back and looking at gameplay, seeing what I can do to be better at the game, to do the things I want to do, because I want to feel that progression of getting better. So I do agree with that. But I think the biggest thing for him is people expect him to be something different just because he has money now. He's been like this before the money. when he was doing MLG and all that stuff, and he wasn't making all the money he was making. It was the same exact person.
Go ahead, Xbot.
Go ahead.
Oh no, just real quick, when it comes down to it, now Ninja was a quote unquote star before a certain event, but let's be real here. Like, his ability didn't rocket him to superstar status.
No,
it was playing with Drake that did.
No, you're absolutely right.
Right.
But it's still the simple fact that the person that he was saying all those things he said on Twitter and in live streams is the same exact person that been playing these games the way he's been playing for the long.
Here's
he
the
just
only
has a microscope.
The only thing I'll say, and Enrique, you were a part of. Shout out to Salty and the Saltiest Gaming podcast last night. We were on there. Yeah. And the one thing we were kind of talking about that we brought up, it was a hypothesis. It wasn't necessarily fact, but we thought about it in this case was, when Ninja was on Twitch, okay, and this is one of the first things, when this first was announced that he was going to Mixer, we all know that it was because of a large check, and by all means, I think everybody in the panel and everybody in the chat and everybody listening later would agree that we'd all take that big payoff. That's a wise business move. Good on Ninja to do that. But what I'm saying is he went from when Fortnite would have no major updates, just a regular bland Wednesday night. Ninja and Dreamcast Guy, you can back me up on this because Dreamcast Guy said he was watching him early on. This guy had 60, 70,000 people watching him. Yep. Now he's got between 5 and 11,000 people.
It's a bigger platform,
and
man.
But Xbox, before we start throwing out excuses, the point of the matter is this.
It's a reason.
Yeah, but when you are an outstanding comedian and you sell out Madison Square Garden, and then 2 weeks later you can't sell out a high school gymnasium, it bothers you even when you're rich. So my point being is this: he's doing some of these things, I think, as a publicity stunt to get attention. And I think that maybe this, because, like I said, Dreamcast Guy, I don't know how much I saw you're muted. I don't know if you heard me. Like, I think that he went from 70,000 people on a bland Wednesday night with no update in Fortnite to about, 12,000 people on a Wednesday night now. And you know what? Listen, we can all sit here and say that doesn't bother that person, but he is a true entertainer. He's a true skill craft. He's one of the pioneers that got this platform known as Twitch and streaming as a whole, now Mixer. And to go from selling out at 68,000, sometimes when the Fortnite would release their new season or a new chapter or a new this or a new that or a new character, new skin, he'd have 100,000 people watching him. And now he's down to 12,000. Well, you really can't say it doesn't affect him.
Even worse, somebody did like a analytical study cross-analyzing all his different social medias and discovered that once he took that Mixer deal, his YouTube dropped off, his Instagram dropped off, his Twitter retweets just fell off a cliff. It was one of those things where he practically just committed career suicide by signing that check. Yes. And I don't think he realized that was what was going to happen. So I guarantee you that deeply bothers him, and it's definitely affecting his behavior. It can't not. Like, if you were going to work, and your boss
depends on what you went into it thinking was going to happen. I mean, like, if I'm the biggest person on Twitch and I'm going to the smallest platform, in my mind, I know I'm not going to, maybe initially I'm going to have a huge following over there because people are going to come over there with me initially. But I honestly, truly believe that we don't know this because he didn't come out and say it, but I think he just doesn't, like, the end goal for him probably, and I think a lot of the streamers that went from Twitch to Mixer, is to stop streaming at some point, because it's very freaking grueling to do the thing that you've been doing for this long. And with the money that he got from Microsoft, he doesn't even have to worry about how many people show up to a stream, because he's getting that money passively from Microsoft over the course of however long the deal is, versus having to worry about, is this retweet out? How good did I play in Mix on Fortnite today? What collab do I need to do on Mixer today or on Twitch today to actually get that? Have you seen any collabs or anything with him since he's been over on Mixer?
Those brand deals too. He used to be like, all right, well, the next hour is sponsored by the amazing Gordito Crunch from Taco Bell, and there'd be a giant stupid flaming taco.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
He did get a deal with Adidas. He has gotten other deals. So again, but the thing is, though, I do want to bring this up, guys, and I got to say this again. I don't know how many times you've seen this happen to, again, comedians or other people that have been in the limelight where they host a crowd. And sometimes when they lose that crowd and they're not the it person anymore, they start doing rash things out loud because they got to bring attention that hopefully brings them back to the show again. They're just trying to get butts in the seats. And I think that's the case here.
Being him at the end of the day. But one thing I do want to say, and it's probably going to be an unpopular opinion here. I would like to give a shout out to Microsoft for at least trying to start like taking like notches out of the Twitch belt, because when it comes down to it, there's a lot of practices that Twitch does with their streamers, female according to male and stuff like that I really don't like. So when it comes down to it, Twitch is the number one streaming platform out there, but at least Microsoft is, throwing some money out there and trying to get some of those people over to Mixer to kind of even the playing field a little bit more.
And Enrique, I want to give you the mic next. Yeah. Let me just take out these super chats and I'm going right to Enrique. He's Sovereign Cogito says Halo 5 had the best gameplay mechanics out of all the Halo series. The issues were story was crap. The world was bland, boring, inspiring, and graphics were crap.
Mooch, who said that? Who said that?
Sovereign Cogito. But hold on.
Sovereign brother. Love you, man.
Real quick, I do want to just read this one more. I have one more here real quick. And then I want to get back to this. Emmanuel A. So, Emmanuel, I want to say thank you so much for your super chat contributions. He says, y'all should bring on Griffin Gaming. He's funny. We'll take a look and see what Griffin's up to in the future weeks. But, I got to be honest with you. Enrique, take the mic away here because me and you had some great discussion last night on this.
Look, as I think about this more, Mooch, I think he just had a Bobby Knight, Jim Moore moment. Remember Jim Moore? Playoffs? Yeah, I mean, I think the competitive nature of him took over. I don't think he handled it in the best way, though.
That's where I'm at.
Calling people lazy, saying you suck as a human. I'm like, yeah, let's pump the brakes there a little bit, buddy. Like, I get being competitive. I get not wanting to lose. I mean, I have this conversation with Forte when I play Destiny with him. He's like, you suck, Enrique. What the hell's wrong with you? He boots me out of games. It's terrible. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like,
you sound ruthless.
I just wouldn't. Hold on. I just wouldn't play with you if that's the case.
Well, that's what I send him messages. I'm like, what are you doing? He doesn't respond. It is what it is. Meanwhile, I play with slow mo.
He already said he only plays with certain people, man. Come on.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So I think that's. I think I understand like the. Maybe he's feeling like the pressure of or that ego, if you will. I think there is some ego involved. I think when you're super competitive, and maybe losing some of that, like you said, I think it was DC who said, his social media stuff's kind of, I don't know if he used the word tank, but it's dropped since he's made the move to Mixer. I just don't think he handled it well. I think that saying that you're a terrible human being and you're lazy. And he said it a couple times. You're just lazy. Like, and when I watched the video, I'm thinking, dude, these people are right. You're getting this unhinged over video games. It's supposed to be fun.
I do like people were showing that clip of him being like, imagine telling LeBron James it's just a game. Imagine telling Kobe it's just a game. I'm out here trying to compete, and people are retweeting that. Like, this man is talking about Fortnite, by the way. This man is this mad about
Fortnite. DC, even if we take his words literally and you say, okay, I don't remember when Michael Jordan had a bad night, he never turned to the reporter and was like, well, what did you do tonight? Huh?
Right.
No,
I'm out here. He never said that. He was very it's called, what is that there? It's sportsmanlike conduct. You have that sportsmanship, right? And that's the thing. So if he's gonna preach and use sports as a reference, okay, folks, you have to understand, if you're gonna use sports as a reference, you have to understand these guys that go out there and play professional sports, they don't yell or argue all the time with the viewers or the reporters, because that's an internal thing. They got to get better and play better the next time they come out on the court or the field.
He went Bobby Knight, man. That's what happened.
He did go Bobby Knight. He threw a chair.
Yeah.
Mentally.
The one thing I don't agree with is him calling out people, saying people suck and all this other crazy stuff. That I don't get why he does that, and I think that's why he was super in his feelings about that whole situation. But I can relate to him. If you get you got that many people watching you and everybody saying, dude, it's just a game, especially if it's somebody that's never watched your stream before, to see that you get animated like that. He's animated like that whenever he loses a game. So it's kind of natural for his streams that see it. But it doesn't make up the fact that he shouldn't be going after people's character and stuff in the stream by saying that stuff. So I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Others down. I recently competed. There was like a $10,000 World of Warcraft tournament thing I competed in, and I trained for hundreds of hours leading up to it, and I ended up losing just over a horrible mistake completely on my own part, and I was real mad. I went on a long ass walk and like thought about my fucking life for a while, but I didn't put anybody down. I didn't insult anybody. I was beat, and I lost that money. Sort of things. So I feel like getting angry is one thing. Getting angry at others is a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, that's
great
the
point.
Yeah.
Great point.
Dreamcast guy, the next time you're training for a tournament or something, you gotta create like an 80s montage. All right, and you gotta put it on your channel.
You're the best.
The best. I did. I recorded it. I recorded a whole like 80s montage to put up if I won, and it was going to be how I won 10K. And then when I lost, now I have all this footage that's all like edited. I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking
you still
idiot. Like, delete.
How I did win 10K.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Great.
How I embarrassed myself.
You can definitely do that still.
You guys absolutely. I got to be honest with you.
Turn the Dreamcast guy logo upside down.
LVA says, Mooch, do me a favor, get Ninja on the podcast. Yeah, I'll get my people to talk to his people. Listen, here's the thing.
Problem.
I want to say this real quick. It's 9 o'clock here in New York, and that's 2 hours. Guys, let me tell you something. What an amazing panel we've had tonight. What an amazing chat we've had tonight. Guys, I got to tell you something. This is the reason I can't wait. No matter how much I come home from a 9-10 hour workday, guess what? I can't wait to come home and do Crossfire and enjoy time with these amazing experiences from these gamers and the gamers in the chat. Let me go in reverse order here and just take a second to thank Dreamcast Guy. Dreamcast Guy, thank you so much for being here tonight, buddy. I got to be honest with you. We talk on Twitter. We get a chance to BS a little bit back and forth. I really hope that this isn't the last time you come on the show because, the one thing we love to do, DC, here is we love to have difference of opinion because, that's what makes this whole thing worth it in the long run. And that's why I'm a huge fan of your channel. You really do bring out some of the greatest things. You bring out some good controversy. You bring out great opinions in games. And, your end slogan is keep dreaming. And the point is with that is don't stop thinking is what I think you're trying to portray. Dreamcast Guy, thanks for being here tonight. And let everybody know where they can find you.
.com/Dreamcast Guy. And I want to say a huge, giant, real serious thank you. This has been a freaking blast. You're going to see more of me. I'm making a promise to chat right now. You guys can hold it to me. I will be back. I'm not sure when, but next time there's a big show, like, hell yeah, Crossfire was a blast. You guys bring up so many freaking great points. Holy hell, man. I seriously, y'all challenge me. You push me. I love it. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Dreamcast Guy. And that's the whole point of the show. That's the whole thing. I want to bring people on with difference of opinion. If you think differently than me, I say you got to get on here and we got to talk about it. So I truly appreciate that, DC, and I'll be in touch with you. I know you got a lot going on. And listen, you're putting so much work out there, and you're traveling and doing all these things. So I know your schedule's busy. I won't overburden you by no means, but I definitely will throw out the Crossfire invite within the next maybe 4 to 5 weeks and give you some time, and we'll get you back on the show.
Maybe, we're coming up. We're a couple weeks away from the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Maybe we can do a big when that drops. So we can do like a round table and everybody talk about it or something.
Done. Already done deal. I've already got that pre-ordered. So that's a done deal. Done deal. So awesome to have Dreamcast Guy here. And then I've got Senor Bombastic Boom, who I always promised 9 o'clock Eastern time. We are New Yorkers and we keep to the clock. Boom. It has been an absolute blast having you back on Crossfire. We miss you here. The audience misses you. Boom. Let everybody know where they can find you, and thank you for being here tonight.
Well, first of all, let me just say this was great. This is what I expected Crossfire to be. This is exactly why it's called Crossfire. I got to work with some folks that I haven't worked with in a while. I got to meet Dreamcast Guy live on the air, which is a big deal. Really enjoy your stuff, dude. Like I think that what you do is very passionate. And listen, I know my channel is small, but if you ever had the time, I'd love to have you. I have a nighttime podcast Monday evenings called Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. Would love to have you on to get your insight. Listen, folks, it's great to be back. Obviously, you know that I took the torch that was passed to me by Mooch. And I went crazy with it, and I produced 3 live shows. And again, there are a lot of people in the chat that already follow me. But if you are new to Double Barrel Gaming and you want to check out the channel, I guarantee you're going to find something that you're going to enjoy. And you can also follow me on, of course, Twitter at Mr. Boomstick XL.
Appreciate that, Boom. And honestly, it feels so comfortable having you back home. So you're always welcome. Let me know when you're available, and we got to get you back on a lot sooner than we did this first time.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then I've got my buddy here, Enrique from Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Enrique, honestly, outstanding to have you on here. Me and you have just absolutely had a great back and forth for the past, 2 years now. Fantastic. Enrique, let everybody know where they can find you, and I can't wait till you're back on the show again.
Woo! My outro might be a little long-winded because I do have a question for Dreamcast Guy.
Go ahead.
Being that he's a big Final Fantasy fan, who is the better antagonist, Kefka or Sephiroth?
I have to say Kefka. I was actually thinking about this today, and I think Kefka because he's just insanity embodied. I also really like Kefka because he actually won when you think about it. Like, he wanted to become a dark god. He did it. He destroyed the world. You basically just kill him because it's like, well, we lost, you're losing too. Like, I think as an antagonist, he's just much better because he's actually scary, whereas like Sephiroth is just intimidating.
That's awesome, man. I will say this too. I don't have the biggest podcast right now. But we we've had industry guests on too, and we would love to have you on if you're open to coming on BRAP, Dreamcast Guy. We'd love to have you on as well. So definitely want to extend that invitation to you. But
when this is over, I'm gonna follow all y'all on Twitter after this. I'm just saying that right now. So y'all can DM me.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. And I will say this, great topics tonight, great panel. I've had a blast. I mean, it's great coming on a show and, just having a different of opinions. But what's great is we're all gamers. We all love gaming. And this has just been a fantastic show, Mooch. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
You don't know me, Enrique.
Let me tell you something. Enrique just did the best outro, period. And I'll tell you why, because Dreamcast Guy, one of his signature things on his videos that I love, he's the only one that does it. He says, thanks for watching the show. And then if you watch, just wait 3 seconds, he'll go, I was thinking about something else.
Yeah.
And he'll go into, right? It's a signature thing that you do.
Yeah. I did that. I started doing that like a long time ago. And the comments I noticed, I was like, man, everybody's watching the entire video and the outro. And I just started being like, I'm going to say one extra thing at the end of every video.
You've had one extra, and I love it because I literally, maybe it's, I don't know what it is, but it's the thing that hooks me. I'm like, I got to wait to see what he's going to say at the end.
Yes.
Because he's got an extra comment every single video. And it was great because Enrique, he's like, let me give an outro, but just one more thing. And I'm like, that's so Dreamcast Guy. That's fantastic.
Well, I had to ask that question. I mean, because that's a debate that I've had with a lot of Final Fantasy fans. But anyhow, just to wrap up my quick outro, you can check out Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. We podcast every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've had everyone on this panel has been on the show. Forte is a regular panel member, and if you want to give us a follow on the Twitters, it's at @BRAP_podcast. So, Mooch, thank you again, everyone on the panel. It's been awesome.
Awesome, Enrique. Thank you so much. And then I've got Gaming Forte. And Forte, there's a reason so many people like to have you on their show. It's because just you're so insightful and you're kind, you're courteous. I love that you're a part of the show. Forte, let everybody know where they can find you, and thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, man, it's always a pleasure, man. Another great Friday, another successful Crossfire. Man, I've been watching Dreamcast. I've been watching you for the longest, ever since, since the beginning of this generation, man. And I love your content, man, and keep doing that. And I always meant to ask you, man, how do you come up with the different things at the end of those videos? Because I do watch them all the way through just to see what you say at the end. So congratulations on the success of your channel, man, and keep going. Other than that, Gaming Forte on YouTube and Twitter. Check me out on all those things. Also, my man Boom, Monday nights, 9 p.m. for prime time. That's the first glimpse that you can get of your boy Forte. And then we got Brap, he already said at 9 p.m. And then Crossfire today. And every once in a while when the Miss Ashton Luca needs me, Sunday night, Scumcast, you guys already know about that. So a lot of places to see me. But thanks again for all the support you guys been giving on YouTube and Twitter. It's been amazing. And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you, Forte. And last but certainly not least, one of the original Usual Suspects, Xbot448. It is always great to hang out with Xbot and hear what he's got to say. True gamer.
Mooch, I told you it'd be hard to get rid of me. Ever since that first guest appearance, man, that was it, dude.
Buddy, I got news for you. I got 3M tape on the back of you, buddy. You're not going anywhere. Listen, Xbot, it is great to have you here, brother. Let everybody know where they can find you. You got a big show tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. Every Saturday on my channel is the next podcast, the best looking podcast in this community. That's right, guys. I said it. Definitely tune into my channel, 7 p.m. tomorrow. That's 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. And you want to. You know why? Because secretly, I am Dreamcast Guy's favorite Crossfire panel member. So you want to check out my show. There we go.
He's paying me to say yes, but I fully agree with everything he says.
It went through, right? Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, and PayPal. Yeah, he's the best.
It's
Subscribe.
instant.
True creator of Keep Dreaming.
That's so great. That's great. Xbot, awesome to have you guys. Guys, again, great show. It's Friday night. Enjoy time with your families. Go out there, play some games. Guys, I did put Saturday 5 p.m. for Twitch.tv, but I will be streaming on Sunday this week. The Last of Us, The Path to Platinum continues. We're going to keep going. So it'll be Sunday. We'll be doing The Last of Us and continuing on our journey. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great night, and we'll see you next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night.
Battletoads!
Woo!